Hello, it's international break, and while there's not like immediate FPL thoughts on my mind, I thought I'd still put something down on camera about some of the dilemmas that I've got with my team, because I think it might ring true with some of your teams out there. So first of all, before we start, I should say that the caveat to all this is I think when thinking about moves at the moment, we need to be looking ahead to Game Week 18, which is a blank for Man City and Brentford, and then of course the prospect of a double for Man City and Brentford in Game Week 20, and a really favourable double for City. I think I'm right in saying it'll be Sheffield United at home and Brentford at home in Game Week 20 if that drops in as expected. And as well as that, we've got rotation to consider. Game Week 15 is a midweek game week. And I think Game Week 19 follows just a few days after 18, so that's a midweek game week as well over Christmas. So rotation more than ever at the moment is a concern that we've got to consider when looking at any transfers starting from now. All right, let's start by talking about goalkeepers, and obviously that means Areola for me and a lot of you out there as well. What do we do with him? I mean, I've got like 3 one-pointers off him so far since I've owned him, and it's the old mantra about, well, his fixtures are good, so you've got to hold on to him, and that really is the case, because until Game Week 18, West Ham do have fixtures that I look at them and think, surely I'm going to have other priorities in my team other than selling Areola, and I think that will be the case. But mid-term, I want to change him. Raya's got to be the top target, because Arsenal's defence, having just updated the Blackbox tables, Arsenal's defence comes out on top over the season and the last 6 game weeks in terms of XG conceded per 90. The other defence I'm possibly going to be considering is Chelsea. If I don't go to Colwell in defence, Sanchez in goal could be an option, because he's 4'6", that little bit less than Raya, so it might be that he's easier to get to in time for Chelsea's fixture swing. I guess the other option I'm considering is Neto at Bournemouth, because they are suggesting they're going to turn their season around. Their fixtures are very strong, and Neto 4.6 saves per match he's averaging this season. Only Foderingham of Sheffield United can beat that. So you're almost going to get a save point, at least one, and when he gets a clean sheet, bonus will be on the card. So Neto at 4, I think he's 4.5, could be the easier option if I'm just short of that 0.1. So let's talk about my defence, and it's all about Matty Cash, of course. I think, again, many of you out there will have this problem. His attacking potential seems to have dropped off the cliff a little bit. Well, not a little bit, a lot. And more to the point, he's got Arsenal and City at home coming up in 15 and 16. So what are the prospects there? They are home games, and Villa are really strong at home. But really, they're not keeping clean sheets in those games, even with that home record. And obviously those two teams are potentially the 2 best teams in the land at the moment. So that's a tough one. I think Cash is a sell, even though for Game Week 18 I'd want to hold him because Villa have got Sheffield United in that blank game week for City and Brentford. But I think he's a sell. So players I'm considering, believe it or not, I'm considering Ait-Nouri. I mentioned him on a previous video. But I've had a look, and extraordinary. He's over defenders in the last 6 game weeks. He's 4th for XGI non-penalty. And even more surprising, over the same 6 game weeks, Wolves' defence is second only to Arsenal for expected goals conceded non-penalty per 90. So Wolves are really tempting me because they've had a run of form. O'Neill really does seem to be turning them around, and Ait-Nouri goes to Fulham in game week 13. He's a real upside pick because he's getting forward since Neto got that injury. He's playing left wing back, and I think he's averaging like 1.3 shots per game, 1.3 chances created per game as well. He's the real upside pick for me. Otherwise it's a play safe, isn't it? It's a Villa defender. It's Gahey, or dare I say it, Mitchell, and that's probably the most sensible pick for me. But the Ait-Nouri one is He's definitely really, really tempting. And as I said before, I really need to stick to the upside tactics, I think, because that has worked for me. So the Ait-Nouri transfer, watch this space on that. The Palace move, definitely the safest. I guess other defenders, I've mentioned Colwell, right? So Chelsea's fixtures really swing. So Colwell's going to come into the equation very soon because of that swing. And I think he's obviously very reasonably priced as well. Who else is there? Is there anyone else I've mentioned? Oh yeah, people have been talking about Fulham. Yeah, I mean, my worry here is Tete's back soon, so Castagna and Robinson, it's not easy who to pick, who will play over the Christmas period. There could be rotation there with Tete back. Talking of Ait-Nouri again, Bueno is an option there for Wolves, so one thing against Ait-Nouri is the rotation, particularly game week 15, when I think they're at home to Sheffield United. So I'd want him for that game. No, it's Burnley, so I'd want him for that game. So I'd worry, it's just a risk, but the upside is so big. Midfield now, and Diaby's the one, probably the most likely player that I'm going to move out after cash because of those Villa fixtures, of course. I mentioned the Arsenal and City games. He's done all right. Again, like cash, I've had him from the very start, from game week 1. So he's not an easy sell for me, but I do think it's the best way of me potentially freeing up some cash in the mid-term. In the short term, though, the problem I've got is Mbomo playing Luton in game week 15, I think it is. Is it 15 or is it 14? No, it's 14. Game week 14 he plays Luton. And he's going to be obviously heavily owned. And I know, don't let effective ownership affect your decision making, but a home to Luton and Mbomo on penalties. And the other thing about Mbomo, if I have to hold him long term, that's great because he's an assured starter on penalties. And over this period, as I said at the start of this video, rotation's got to be our consideration. And he's such a talisman that there's no way he's going to be a risk. You know, if you've got Mbomo, you're going to get starts out of him over Christmas. I'd be very, very surprised if he missed a game. He might have his minutes managed over the crush, but I see him starting every game. So he's going to be so valuable. So it's a really boring move, which now you can see why I'm considering Ait-Nouri, right? Because I'm going to go Diaby to Mbomo. The other player, there is an upside. There is an upside option, and that's Eze at Palace. Yeah, I'm sure a few of you are looking at him. Like Mbomo, he's very similar. He's the talisman for Palace. He's on penalties and set pieces. He's got the goal threat. There's not much in it. I mean, I know Mbomo in terms of output this season has been outstanding, so there's a big gap so far in output. But that makes me wonder whether Eze is going to come onto the radar and start returning. He's got returns in his last 2 and a couple of assists. He always looks fantastic. The eye test isn't a factor for Eze. If anything, he beats Mbomo for the eye test. But it's output, of course. Palace's fixtures are decent. They're on a par, if not a little bit better than Brentford's maybe over this run. And he's 6-1, so the save in there. So the key is, what can I do with that money? Is the risk of going Eze over Mbomo and not having Mbomo for the Luton game 14 worth taking? Or maybe I do both. Maybe I go Mbomo 14, move down to Eze after that. But will I have the transfers to do that? That's a luxury, isn't it, when you're building towards the blanking game week 18? But I mean, I haven't made up my mind yet. And Mbomo, again, like the Gahey pick or the Palace defender pick over Ait-Nouri, Mbomo is the safe pick, Eze the upside. Which way am I going to go? I'd be interested to see how you folks are thinking on that one. The other player I should mention, because I mean, being a Forest fan, I can't really not mention him, I guess. Morgan Gibbs-White. He's a player did I have him last season? I don't think I did. I think I just had Brennan. But Gibbs-White is a player that, very similar to Eze and Mbomo, again, he's our talisman, he's our creative spark. He's on penalties, he's on set plays. His output, like Eze, has been disappointing this season, even more so. Just 1 assist so far. But the key factor is fixtures here with Forest. They've got 4 of the next 6 at home, and we're a completely different side at the City ground. And it doesn't really matter who the opponent is. So although there's some tough home games, I back us at the City ground against anyone. So Gibbs-White, the only thing is Gibbs-White as secure? You would think so, but I'm not absolutely sure. He's been dropped once this season, which was labelled as a rest by Cooper. But I think with Danilo there for Forest as an option, who could come in over that rotation period, that heavy rotation period over Christmas, Gibbs White might not be as secure as you think. So finally, let's talk about forwards, and it's Watkins, isn't it? I mean, I'm not going to look at the Haaland sale now, even with the injury news from the Norway camp. I think that's going to be fine. He's going to play against Liverpool, isn't he? Watkins, though, now he's interesting because I got him in the wildcard, so I haven't got a lot of value tied up on him. So, in many ways, that's does that make him an easier sell than Cash and Diaby? No, not really. I mean, although I've got a lot of value in them, I still think they're the priority sales. But Watkins, there's two options, isn't there? There's Solanke, who's really made a move in recent game weeks and has fantastic fixtures as well, up to about 19, or was it 18? Bournemouth have a good run. And then there's Darwin, of course, who is always going to be on our minds, and whenever we're looking to make a change up front, Darwin's going to be someone who is in the conversation. I think, as I said earlier, though, it's the rotation over this period. This is a period where you want certain starters. And although Darwin, his XG is fantastic, Liverpool are going to score a lot of goals over Christmas, of course, and even off the bench he could be a factor. Watkins, let's face it, is a talisman. Going to play every game, not on penalties, but he's an assured starter. So selling Watkins to Darwin doesn't look right. Solanke is different because he is a similar role for Bournemouth. He's their talisman. He's on penalties. They have the good fixtures, as I said, and the key fixture is the money. That would give me 1.9, maybe 2 million. And that would change everything because that would mean that I could consider Saliba, the Rolls-Royce Arsenal defender, instead of Raya maybe, and double up on that Arsenal defence over Christmas. And it would give me some money to do more with that Diaby slot. So although if I went in Bomo in the short term, I could maybe get to Bowen if I didn't do Saliba. So the options that the Solanke replacement gives you, it's got to be worth considering. It's something I'm looking at, and Watkins is a hard sell because we're entering a period where he's an ideal player to own, I would say. But Solanke definitely is. He's a step down, but he's got that same talisman factor. And I've got to look just how much I could use that 2 million over this period. It could be a time where you want a fully active bench. So Mbama, I've even forgotten his name. I mean, I think the West Ham forward, he's probably gone on loan now and left the game. Mubama, I think it is. Maybe it's time to replace him. Maybe the money there will get me that option to upgrade him and then have that fully active bench, which I might need over this Christmas period. Now, one thing that's worth going back to is that game week 18 situation, in that Villa have Sheffield United at home in that game week. So is it really wise? You've heard me talk about selling Cash, Diaby and Watkins. Probably not. So that's another factor in Watkins' favour, in that maybe he's a keep and I just make do without that extra money to strengthen elsewhere. But one thing I would say to Solanke, he's got good fixtures over that period as well. He's got Fulham, I think it's Luton, Forest, Fulham over that run from 17, 18, 19. So even there, Solanke's got an answer to tempt you. So yeah, it's not an easy one, is it, this one? That's it. I hope you enjoyed that one. Just a nice one. I'm getting loads of steps in since I started doing this. So that's a good thing. But the wind is getting up, as you can hear, and it could rain any moment. So I better call it a day for that. I'll be back with Blackbox in the week. I'm away with work, but I think I can manage to call in and do Blackbox from my hotel. So we'll see how that goes, see how the internet bears up for that one. Big things actually for members. We're launching the Discord server today. I'm going to launch it when I get back. So yeah, if you're a member, then you look out for a post on YouTube for that, or in the WhatsApp group if you're on the Godfather tier. Lots of stuff going on that Discord server. We've got plenty to talk about when that launches. But for now, I'm going to go. I need to go because, to confess, I've sat down and I think I'm lost. Right, so the family dropped me off here. I went for a walk. I said, I'll see you in about half an hour. I'll do a bit of filming. And I've just walked around and I haven't got a clue where I am now. So I'm going to have to, and my sense of direction is about as good as his mastery of the chips. It's pretty dodgy. So I'm going to hopefully get home in time to launch that Discord server before it gets dark. I'll see you later.